What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, are Callum Wiggins.
Gold.
And Robert DeFelice.
I can't believe how great or terrible Backlash was.
Yes, we are recording this episode in advance. This is the 3rd of May. I don't know when exactly I'm going to publish this, but we are doing this before. Yeah, probably around next Wednesday or maybe next Tuesday if I decide that, don't want to wait as much time or whatever. I don't know. You're going to get it next week. That's going to be listening to it then. But we're recording this in advance because I am making sure that I don't have a recording set up. Kalen's actually going to be popping up in New York, so I want to make sure I spend some time with him. And maybe we'll end up recording something extra or something. I don't know. But yeah, we decided we're going to do this ahead of time. So keep in mind that anything that we say has no bearing whatsoever on whatever happens at Backlash. We don't have any idea even if this is factored in whatsoever. But what we're doing here is a matchmaker fantasy booking scenario of an ultimate card. And we've done this before with some other things with the mock draft, and we've done this with some other just random fantasy booking. Somebody will sponsor something on the Pick Your Poison tier about like the Starrcade 1999 one was one that we had done somewhat recently and all. But this time around, there's no mock draft element to it, especially because there certainly wouldn't be as much of a card here. We've got only 25 people to work with to begin with. But instead, since they are calling this new belt the World Heavyweight Championship, and they still have not clarified if this is just the WWE title, and they're not saying the WWE Championship, just, semantics, or if this is a continuation of the old World Heavyweight Championship, or if it's something brand new, I figured, let's treat it as if it is the old thing, and then let's go back and talk about those old champions. But instead of doing a wrestling with the past, let's have a little bit more fun with it. Let's do fantasy booking. So what we're doing is we are using only the former WWE World Heavyweight Champions, meaning the big gold belt version of that title, not the current one that's on the other side of the shoulder from the Universal Championship that Roman Reigns is holding right now. That also means no NWA World Heavyweight Champions. It means no WCW World Heavyweight Champions, no TNA, whatever. It's just the big gold belt from the WWE era that started with Triple H and ended with the whole unification thing that we had going on with, the people like the Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton and John Cena, the guys holding those two championships and all. So we've got 25 people to work with, and what we are going to do is take them and try to figure out the ultimate card that we could make out of them. One of the ideas I had going into this was to just have all of us create our separate cards, but I figured the ultimate thing might be a little bit more fun for us to do, and we'll talk about the ideas that we would have pitched for that too. I created a whole separate card that I'll show you guys as well. But as we go along here and we tell you what our ideas are, and you can see us brainstorming things and debating stuff back and forth, make sure that you are checking out everything else that's happening around here and all. Go back and check out the Fantasy League episode that we had done where we picked our teams for that. If you like these whole mock draft type things, it's mock draft in some ways. Make sure you are also checking out all the different things you can be clicking on for YouTube, like the like button, obviously, that goes a long way in helping us out with the YouTube algorithm. We've also got the join button over there, which if you are not familiar with the Patreon, it's the same tiers that you have there, like the Darkcast, the Pick Your Poison tier, as I mentioned before. Even $1 a month goes a long way in helping us continue to keep the lights on here and just keeping the morale up and all. So whether it's through that or it's the little thanks button, I thank you in advance for anybody who opens up their wallet and gives us a little spare change that way. Pick up merchandise on Redbubble or TeePublic, and I think that that's enough of the plugs for right now at the very least. So let's switch over to a screen share here for everybody that they can see. You can see a little sidebar on there of things that I had. Before we get too deep into this, I did book a card ahead of time, and I will toss out some of those suggestions. You can see on there, Big Man Buffet was already on there. Of course, I was going to do that. And of course, I'm going to pitch that we could maybe potentially do that. But I want to start with this question for you guys, without even trying to book anything yet. Is there one person you feel we should revolve around as the world heavyweight champion. Because I kind of look at this as, all right, if we got this group of people, for anybody who's listening on the audio only version, I'll just read them out. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Goldberg, Chris Benoit, Randy Orton, Batista, Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, King, Booker T. We could technically go by Booker T, but whatever. Undertaker, Edge, Great Khali, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, John Cena, Jeff Hardy, Jack Swagger, Kane, Dolph Ziggler, Christian, Mark Henry, Big Show, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, and Alberto Del Rio. That is the only group of people that we were working with here. I look at this and I had said ahead of time when I was booking my card, I wanted a mid-card champion, I wanted a tag team champion set, and I wanted one world champion. Do you guys kind of agree or do you disagree? And is there like a sort of standout, like, no, I think we should split it, or?
No, the way I looked at this lineup of people, I tried to come up with a match list that we've already seen that we can add to, or maybe we put together for the ultimate card. And then I thought of, okay, now what if you're trying to do it under the guise of this match hasn't happened yet, and trying to come up with new ideas for these people. So I can't think of anybody in particular that needs to be the champion.
I kind of took the more like just whole dream match, or trying to find some great matches out of it, rather than specifically saying this match had to be for that title or anything else. But I think that there's no issue of approaching it with like, okay, we need a certain number of champions, or we need this title to be on the line, or let's have a mid-card or tag team titles as well. So yeah, I'm not when I was thinking it, there wasn't anything that I was specifically saying that I need to have a tag team championship match set up as well, or something along those lines.
So I'll say this, as far as just, I'm not going to show my full card that I had created ahead of time. I'll show that afterward to see if we made any changes or whatever. But I looked at this and I said, if I showed my worksheet, which I had, I deleted it all by now, of course. I took this group of these 25 people. I separated them into 3 lists. That's usually what I end up doing. I have like my list of high priority, my low priority, and then my everybody else list. My low priority were people like the Del Rios and Jack Swagger and all. My high priority, you got John Cena, Triple H, etc. But I very quickly thought to myself, I don't see on this list necessarily a justification for the Undertaker to be the world champion. So who do I put the Undertaker with as a featured match? And my go-to answer for this, I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree, or if you think that this is a better placement for somebody else. I had down on my thing here a grudge match, just, singles match, maybe some kind of a casket match or whatever it might be. Undertaker versus Sheamus. Because we've seen him against Triple H, Shawn Michaels. We've seen him against Goldberg. That didn't really work out all that well. Plus, I'll talk about Goldberg in a minute. We've seen Batista, Randy Orton. We've seen him against everybody on this list. But we never really saw the Sheamus thing. To me, that's what stands out for Undertaker for me. That was kind of my starting point. I will say my other starting point was, what do I do with Goldberg? And I'll flat out say it right now. I had Goldberg against Batista as another grudge match.
That's interesting. So when I looked at this, my immediate thing was, do we cast aside certain names like a Ziggler or a Swagger, or do we try to put them in the best case scenario where it's like, you can put a Ziggler against a Kurt Angle and say that, hey, if it was 06 Angle against 13 Ziggler, wouldn't that be a fantastic match? Or you go, I don't know, we'll put Ziggler and Swagger as a tag team against 2 other guys that, didn't make a huge impact. So I thought of things like that, like trying to find matches for everybody. Even like a Great Khali. I'll throw this out there. My idea was Goldberg versus Khali.
See, I had Goldberg separate and Khali in my big man buffet.
In the big man buffet. And I did think about that, but I thought Goldberg is likely going to be in a power match with Mark Henry or with Great Khali, and I'll have him Spear Kali because it's a bigger spectacle.
Not opposed to that idea, especially because that puts Batista in a match with somebody who he work better with. What are some of the ideas that you had set up ahead of time, Cal? Do you have anything for Undertaker that you were like, man, I really think that Undertaker's thing with this, or Goldberg?
Yes, I did actually for both of those two, in particular, because it's just they're strangely hard to book around, considering how prominent they've been. And funnily enough, my choice for the Undertaker, looking through all the list of people and saying, oh yeah, he's wrestled basically everybody on this thing. My choice was Sheamus.
Yeah.
Really? To be the guy for interface. There are a few other options. Like I don't think we ever really saw him go against Daniel Bryan properly,
right?
Like 1-on-1. So that would be good. But I've kind of, with Undertaker, it's different because yeah, he's great, but he's not at that top tier level of bell to bell wrestler for me. Where I'd want to have Daniel Bryan against someone who is at that level. Whereas Undertaker,
should we just say who Daniel Bryan's going to go up against? Because I think we're all going to agree.
Oh well, there's two choices I have for Daniel Bryan, but yeah,
but, there's two choices. Both of us, all three of us have,
yeah. But so for the Undertaker, it's a case of you want a guy who's obviously can have a great match with him, but it's a different kind of match where he can be a bit more physical. I mean, the Undertaker's, obviously talk about the Shawn Michaels matches at WrestleMania, but arguably his greatest other match at WrestleMania is. Well, you've got, he's obviously had great matches with Triple H, so it's difficult to say, but Batista is one of his greatest matches at WrestleMania, and Batista doesn't have the greatest in-ring record against everybody. So Sheamus is a guy who, especially over the last couple of years we've seen, he has great matches with pretty much everybody, and he'll beat the shit out of Undertaker, and he'll take an ass-kicking back. So I thought that those two would have an absolute war against each other if they were both in their primes.
Especially if it's some sort of like street fight-ish, no DQ, casket match type thing where you can brawl outside of just being purely in the ring.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to lock that in? Undertaker versus Sheamus and some...
I'm all right with locking that in. I know we don't normally do this, but if I'm mentally doing it, it's like 08 Taker.
Yeah.
And maybe like a 13 Sheamus, if not a right now Sheamus.
I'd say right now Sheamus. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm all right with locking that in.
Sheamus, obviously, as the heel, Undertaker as babyface.
Yeah.
In this scenario, definitely. My choice to Goldberg was John Cena.
That's interesting. I didn't really think about that.
That makes sense.
I just thought that it was just like it's Cena wins low and it's Goldberg wins low, and you just put them two forces against each other. Batista was a good choice, but Batista always felt second fiddle. I know people, especially with Goldberg in WWE, he hasn't, in recent years, he has been pushed significantly towards World Championship stuff. But in his first run with WWE, he was treated as a second fiddle to Triple H, really, in the world title scene. Whereas people just tend to overlook how supremely over he was in WCW. Like, he was the biggest guy in WCW for a long period of time. So why not put him against the guy who was the top guy in WWE for the longest period of time? So John Cena was the one that immediately stood out to me.
Yeah.
I'm writing down some of these pitches that we got so we can organize it on screen for everybody. So my pitch of Batista, the Great Khali's from Rob's, Cena for Callum.
Funny enough, Great Khali was my other choice for Goldberg. Because just because it'd be a spectacle to see him lift the Great Khali up. For
good. So we're on the same page here. We're all thinking
big guy against Goldberg in some fashion of either it's a big star and whether he can, you can get him up into the Hamas thing or whatever. And so I mean, none of us, I think, are going to be like, no, we got to do Goldberg versus Rey Mysterio or Goldberg versus CM Punk or I could see an argument for Kane.
For Goldberg, Rey Mysterio, I'd listen to the argument.
I could see an argument for Kane. I could see an argument for the Rey Mysterio thing for the fun of the big guy against the small guy or whatever, but
I have a question as well in terms of, are they, I know we don't usually treat it in that regard, we're a bit more fluid with it, but do we try and treat it as if they're the age they were when they're at least around about the age they were when they won the World Championship?
I look at it as if it's the ultimate card, we're picking the ultimate version of them.
Okay.
Like,
that's cool.
like we're saying, like Undertaker back when he could move as well as he could, and Sheamus when he's got the character that he's got now, or
So that mean we can pick the Great Khali when he's in New Japan?
I would say in WWE at the very least.
Oh, okay. He's never been at his peak in WWE.
I mean, like, honestly, when he had the belt, it was as close to his peak as he was going to get.
Yeah.
Because he was still moving.
So that's why I threw Great Khali in with Mark Henry, Kane, and Big Show as a big man buffet. Because I was just like...
That's the that I immediately did as well.
But I think that's the type of thing that maybe we can sit on and see if we've got another idea. Because if we go with Great Khali in some other match, or we go with Batista in another match, or I would think Batista's got some more options. But
we talk about Daniel Bryan's options there. We know.
Yeah, we'll settle on Goldberg afterward. But so Daniel Bryan, and we might have him as a heel or something like that. But
yeah,
I think there's three options.
Benoit or it's Angle. Like,
I think there's a third option. It's either my option was Kurt Angle. I immediately threw him in there as Intercontinental Championship match, Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle.
Well, actually, there is another option.
But I think Shawn Michaels is a really good option. And
Shawn Michaels and Benoit, yeah.
Yeah, those are the three. I mean, you could technically have Daniel Bryan against CM Punk. Of course, Daniel Bryan against pretty much anybody is going to be good. I highly doubt a Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton match is ever going to be necessarily like a bad match. Or you could do another Daniel Bryan versus John Cena thing, or whatever. But I think these three are three matches we didn't see, we're never going to see, and they would be bell to bell, just probably the best overall match on this entire card.
So before we go any further here, do you guys have anything in mind for Hunter? Because that's where I think the Shawn thing is. Play with it a little bit.
So
I did have that idea as well.
My Triple H thing was if you could see up on the screen here, my Four Corners World Heavyweight Championship. I had John Cena, Edge, Randy Orton, and Triple H as the four guys that I kind of equate mostly to like main event level. Because I'll say this too, I had Shawn Michaels against CM Punk.
I also have Shawn Michaels against CM Punk.
And that's where it opened up the Daniel Bryan and Kurt Angle thing for me. And Benoit was like, fuck it, I'll just say it. I had Benoit in my triple threat number one contenders match. It was Chris Benoit against Chris Jericho against Christian. And not specifically to have Chris against Chris, but that way I was like,
good match.
Benoit, Jericho, and Christian all against each other. They'd probably have a hell of a match. And then I was like, oh, you got Angle and Bryan, you got Punk and Michaels. There's nobody that Punk could go up against on this list that I would be more interested in than Michaels. And then you've got Angle and Bryan. So it's like, unfortunately, you don't get Bryan Michaels, but Angle's fought everybody too. And then I'm like, Angle Punk doesn't make as much sense to me as Michaels Punk.
So I like the Michaels Punk idea. I was trying to think about what can you do with Hunter and Shawn that isn't just put them against each other or against The Undertaker. And then I thought to myself, we have never seen and will never see DX versus Edge and Christian. Because you look through the list and it go like Edge has also fought everyone on this list. And Christian, we never really got to see Edge and Christian as a super team the way that we saw DX as a super team, because Christian got bumped up because Edge retired. I think if you think about the promos and the character work you could do, that is maybe one of the most fun pairings for a tag team match that you can possibly get on this list.
I can't disagree with you on that. I mean, I had that Christian in that triple threat thing. I had Edge and Triple H in that main event thing, and I had Michaels with Punk. My tag team match, because I was like, let me just throw these people in there, was Ziggler and Swagger, which I just threw as Swagler, because why not? Against against Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio.
Interesting that you say that, because my idea for an Intercontinental title match is a ladder match between Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio.
I mean, my my original idea for Triple H was a match again that we haven't seen, but we've seen iterations of it, which was the Evolution triple threat. Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista.
That's nice. I like that idea a lot.
The issue I have is the case of I don't really want any of those three to have singles matches because it's one of those things where I don't want to say they're bad because they're definitely not bad. None of them are bad, but I don't like their style of matches that much. Like they'll occasionally have a great match that just really captures my attention, but it's usually because the guy they're wrestling and the style that guy wrestles, and they adapt well to it. Like I've never seen a Triple H Randy Orton match that I think is great. I've never seen a Triple H Batista match outside of that one Hell in a Cell match, which I think has been great. I've never seen a Randy Orton Batista match, which I think is great. But maybe putting all three of them together and just telling that story of the evolution aspect of it would make it more interesting for me.
It also makes sense in the way that Triple H was the one given that championship. He has the whole thing with Randy Orton and the swapping the belt with Chris Benoit, that whole thing, And then, of course, Triple H drops that championship to Batista. So there's a story there to tell, too. And if you take those three and you make that for the World Heavyweight Championship, I'm assuming, then you've got Edge and you've got HBK. You could do the HBK and Punk thing, and then you could do something else with Edge. I don't know what you would do with Edge, though. That becomes a thing then.
So I had thought about Edge in a singles with Punk because it's one of the matches that I don't think that we ever really saw as a rivalry. It's one of the few things that neither guy did. And I'll lay it out there because I do like that Evolution triple threat. My only other idea for Batista that we maybe haven't seen is a prime Batista, like an 06 Batista versus an 06 Kurt Angle. Because I think Kurt Angle could pull a great one out of him. But when you think of the story, it's hard to top that Evolution three-way. But then I don't know because I look at my DX Edge and Christian idea and I go, Christian ends up kind of flat if we don't run with something like that.
At the very least, we know somebody that we are not prioritizing is Alberto Del Rio. For that matter, I had him against King Booker T because I was like, let's make Booker a babyface because he was fun and have him just beat Del Rio. Yeah, that was my only leftover thing.
I thought of an idea for Alberto Del Rio, but it was very much in the vein of a yada yada problematic spectacular. And
Goldberg just beats the shit out of him and Chris Benoit. Whatever.
You have someone run through him, because honestly, if you're gonna try to think of a story for Del Rio, only one you really got there is kind of like Ray, and we saw that a lot. So I don't really. The Booker T idea is as good as it's probably going to get.
I mean, I think that might be the last thing that we book of whatever is left or something. But I'm looking at this kind of little map that we got going on here. If we were to go, for instance, we're liking a lot of the same ideas. So I would say, for instance, for Goldberg, I would be more interested in either the Batista idea or the Cena idea rather than the Khali idea. If we were to take the Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista thing, that leaves Edge and HBK separate from that list and Christian as well. You could do Edge and Christian in a tag team against somebody, but I don't know who. I think Michaels then kind of goes with Punk.
Yeah, he goes with Punk.
And then Kurt Angle with Daniel Bryan. And that leaves Edge, Christian.
Do we just do
Benoit, Chris Jericho?
You're saying words there. Do we pair the four of them?
Do we do Edge and Christian against Benoit and Jericho?
Benoit and Jericho were a great tag team.
They were a great tag team, and we didn't really.
It damn sure would be a good match, I
mean, you could almost. There's so many pairings here because
all the Canadians.
Edge and Benoit were a tag team against Christian and Jericho.
You could do a four-way.
There's a way. I think the way I'd want to do it is Edge and Christian go up against Benoit and Jericho in a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match or something.
And then maybe John Cena against Goldberg, and then Batista.
John Cena against Goldberg, Batista in the Evolution Triple Threat. We got Undertaker, Sheamus locked in. Probably just do your big man buffet.
Yeah, that makes most sense to me.
Any objections regarding Mysterio and Hardy in a ladder match?
I mean, I could still see them in the tag team thing or something.
I mean, part of me was thinking that for that tag team match that you mentioned with like if you were to do like an Edge Christian versus Jericho and Benoit, I think maybe you could make that. Well, make it a TLC triple threat ladder match and add Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio as the other tag team.
I'm not against it.
Could do that too. Yeah, that's another option.
Yeah, I'm actually really fine with that. And then
my issue at that point becomes:
do we have enough triple threats?
Well, it's not even the triple threat side of it because, like, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be, but it's more a case of, all right, there. Obviously, Great Khali is an issue but you can put him in a big man buffet with a Big Show, Mark Henry and Kane, and get kind of push those out to the side. There are 2 glaring issues on this roster, and their names are Jack Swagger and Alberto Del Rio. Because I don't want to see either of them wrestling anybody.
So
what do you do? What do you do with those 2?
My ideal, you put Del Rio in an Inferno match and like Kane set him on fire.
Because it's one of those things with it makes total sense to put him like teaming up with Ziggler.
We're losing you here.
First of all, I think it's
you got to repeat it.
Yeah,
we lost you a little bit.
It's probably some connection thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're good now.
Okay,
keep going.
I say it makes sense to put Swagger and Ziggler together because of their tag team collection, but I think it's a disservice to Ziggler to put him with Swagger.
Yeah, but he can also hold down the fort for that if that's like, some kind of a tag team match or whatever.
Well, it's like Ziggler would be a great IC championship match, but against who?
If you don't make something like the Bryan and Angle match or something, the IC title, of course.
Because I think we're losing a lot of Ziggler's great opponents in the TLC tag team match.
I gotta say, even though we are only part of the way through this card looks fucking great.
No, but I think we're gonna get through this rather quick because it does look good.
So we got like some pairings going on here like that. I mean, we could.
I mean, if we're gonna let's do this. We're gonna have one snooze fest match. It's a flag match between Swagger and Del Rio. You put Booker T with Ziggler in the IC title match,
and then 4-man big man buffet, and then you put triple threat TLC match or something,
and then that's a.
Even though the Swagger Del Rio thing's like, I mean, I don't really know a whole lot of other options that you can do because it's like Ziggler and Booker would have a better match than if he did like, I don't know, Ziggler gets Del Rio again or something like that. I mean, the Del Rio thing is really like, that throws me off because it's like, there's nothing I'm interested in seeing him do here. So it's kind of, part of me is even like, I don't know, maybe he is in the big man buffet is a 4 corners thing and he's in the middle and they all squash him and throw him out even though he's not a big man. But yeah, that's tough. There's nobody you could team him with, I think, that makes any sense. To be like, he's in a tag team match and then this person just does most of the work, or he's fought everybody here. Technically, we could keep him off the card.
Oh.
Del Rio. If we had something else in mind, like if we wanted to, I don't know. Whatever it might be, but
my only other thing would be to put, if we're going to keep him off the card, you then keep Booker off the card and then just throw Ziggler and Swagger in the tag match as like they can be your base.
And then at that point, I think you probably would just be like, it's Booker against Del Rio. Kind of like how I did where I'm like, it's the leftovers. Which sucks because I like Booker so much, but Booker is very rarely the guy that you build one of these cards around unless you end up having, a particular type of draft. Like I would build a WCW card around him. But in this lineup, I mean, I'm going to value Edge and Jericho and Daniel Bryan and Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and all. I'm going to book them over Booker T. And there's like, if I look at this list of these people, like, I don't think Swagger against anybody stands out. I don't think Ziggler against anybody stands out to be like, yeah, we didn't get that Ziggler and Benoit match. Yeah, it'd be good. But do you want to take him out of that and just have that singles match? I don't think so.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah. So I kind of like, I don't know. I kind of put them sort of in that same range. And then I kind of put these, I think we got something here with this triple threat.
It's amazing. That's gold.
And I think we got that big man buffet, which kind of sorts itself out. We're going to pick winners for these and heel and face and stuff too. So that's another element. But these four, man, I don't know. Do you just go, hey, it's a 4-way number one contenders, kind of like I had with the 3-way thing? And just have these four against each other.
You could literally throw them in any direction. I tried to give there's a little bit of a like, okay, you do flag match.
Yeah, the flag thing that's something, a little bit of some pizzazz to it.
Because I don't really like once you're down there, and I love Ziggler and I love Booker. Was a fan of Swagger's, but like once you're down to this, kind of sorts itself out.
How about we do this? How about I just write these down. Great Khali, Kane, Mark Henry, and then we've got the tag team title triple threat match. Move these guys over. We're gonna have to think of some team names for these guys too. So let's go with. We don't know the babyface and heel dynamics yet for this. I mean, we know Rey Mysterio and Jeff Hardy will be babyfaces. Let's not cross words there. Chris, Jericho, Edge, Christian, Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio. And then it's just a matter of what we do with these. So let's figure out what we do with those two. We could do 2 separate singles matches. We could do a 4-way. We could do a tag team match.
Do the separate singles matches. Let Ziggler go over Booker for the IC title, and then let Swagger beat Del Rio in a flag match because fuck Del Rio.
Got any other pitches, Callum?
I don't think. I mean, almost would want to do, just for the sake of completionist, of having Ziggler beat Del Rio, which is what he probably should have done back in 2014.
I don't hate it.
But yeah, it was like, it'd just be a much for muchness, really. The other one would be Swagger versus Booker T, and what's the story there?
Yeah.
The only story that you could probably tell is some sort of is an unsavory one, probably, that has to do with Zeb Coulter.
You could
almost team Swagger and Del Rio together and put them under Zeb Coulter's tutelage, and then have Ziggler versus Booker T.
The Mexican America, what was that? Like,
yeah.
I would say if we did like Ziggler and Del Rio, Booker, Swagger, we'd have probably 2 bad matches, whereas with this one, we would have at least Ziggler and Booker will be better. So that's one thing to keep in mind too.
If you told me I'm in the writer's room and I gotta pick a story for Booker and Swagger, he's King Booker, America doesn't have kings, you kind of just tell that dumb story and then get around that, but that would put Swagger as the face, because King Booker worked as a heel.
They feud over, I like this crown, I like this hat.
There's worse things you can do, Tony.
They could build a feud around somebody stealing somebody's jacket, for all you know. See, and then the Del Rio and Ziggler thing, like, damn, I'm no interest in seeing that again. Not that we're actually going to be able to see this card. It's a shame that we can't just kind of plug ourselves in and do that. But Ziggler Swagger, Ziggler Booker, Ziggler Del Rio. My brain goes, what would I want to see the most? I would say Ziggler Booker, even though I don't want to see Swagger Del Rio, because I don't want to see Swagger against any of them, really. I don't want to see Del Rio against any of them for sure. Swagger would have a better match. The flag thing's interesting to me, and I'm trying to think if there's maybe some other kind of gimmick to toss in there. I also just go, maybe it is simpler to just make it a 4-way and say it's like number one contender for the Intercontinental title and make the Intercontinental title the Bryan and Kurt Angle thing. Just do it like that, and then we book the winner based off of who we want to fight, Angle or Bryan, in the theoretical thing that we aren't going to follow up with.
I mean, if we're telling the truth here, if the rosters weren't so great, I'd make a pitch for Angle against either Ziggler or Swagger.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's so many better people for Kurt Angle to face.
I mean, I'm fine with these like 2 singles matches, mainly just because I want to see how Dolph sells the scissors kick.
That would bring us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matches if we did 2 separate singles matches. Which, I mean, 9 matches on a card. It's not like we're going 14 matches or whatever.
You need some lower card matches, and you also need some sort of like bathroom break match.
Yeah,
that's probably it there.
Which would be the Swagger and Del Rio one would be the bathroom break. So let's go ahead. I'll click these out. Delete columns. This was the group that we were working with. Keep that separate so everybody remembers that. All right, so then it was Dolph Ziggler against King Booker T and Alberto Del Rio against Jack Swagger. So we got to figure out heels and faces. We got to figure out team names, winners, match card placement, that sort of thing.
Well, Ziggler's a face. King Booker's a heel.
Yeah, I would think so. King Booker being heel makes more sense. Del Rio's heel. We want the flag match thing here? We could.
Yeah, why not?
Spice it up.
Attraction.
We'll do winners afterward. Let's see. Baby faces are definitely Jericho or Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, Benoit and Jericho would be
the tweeners, and then these are the heels.
Edge and Christian are the heels. Then I think you put Edge and Christian over because they never lose.
Yeah, we'll talk about winners afterward too. Punk and Michaels. I think Michaels is BB face and Punk is heel.
Yeah, I think so.
I like heel Punk way better. And you could do the whole thing with him being like, you were a former drug addict and all this stuff. And
honestly, I was going to say that, like, as much as people probably want like pipe bomb Punk, I might go Charles Manson Punk for this one.
Mm-hmm. And Michaels being the holier than thou, and he'll be like, you preach that you're like this, you've saved yourself and all, but you're a real piece of garbage backstage. And Michaels could be like, I'm just going to super kick the fuck out of you. Like, It
would be pretty good. Goldberg and Cena is literally, they're both whoever the crowd cheers for that night.
It's kind of how I was looking at it. If anybody was going to be a heel for that, I would think it would kind of be de facto. Like, you'd gotta sort of boo Cena in some ways, but I think that's babyface. What about you, Callum?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just let the crowd decide.
All right, so then let's move that over for that. We need to think about tag team names.
And that's hard because Edge and Christian are literally just Edge and Christian.
You got something here with like the charismatic Enigma and the Mysterio, like Enigma Mystery, something along that line.
They would completely be the mysterious Enigmas. And and Jeff Hardy would sing a bad theme song. It'd be great.
At least we could temporarily put that down there. They never gave any kind of name for Edge and Christian ever.
Nope. Except they were very.
Although ENC, that was.
They were very de facto that it had to be Edge before Christian. Like.
Says if you're Howard Finkel announcing, then it sometimes said Christian and Edge. But they're never going to go named Benoit and Jericho, but they weren't a tag team for that long. So,
I mean, Jericho liked doing the whole like names based off of his name specifically when it's Jericho Appreciation Society and Jericho and whatever. So we can maybe try to build something around that.
I mean, maybe it could be something to do with the fact they were both they're both survivors of the Hart Dungeon.
I think like the Dungeon Duo or the
Canadian Connection.
Lion Wolverine.
Ooh, there might be something there. Yeah, because it's the Lion Tamer and the Lion Heart and the Wolverine, Rabid Wolverine. So Rabid Wolverine, the Lion Heart. Rabid and Heart. Rabid Hearts? You just called that?
Yeah, because you got the Heart Dungeon thing.
We remove the E from Heart.
I almost said Rabbit Hearts. It's just there you go. That's the Rabbit Hearts team. Rabbit Hearts like that.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, fuck it. That's good enough.
Look at that.
We're doing so much more work than WWE does sometimes. Big Man Buffet. We got some heels and baby faces here. It
doesn't matter who's babyface or heel here. They're just big and they're gonna
a heel. Come on.
Then I think you have it exactly like that. The right side is heels, the left side is babyface.
These two baby faces, right side heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Also, in a world where Tony isn't booking Big Man Buffet, one of my tropes with Big Show and Kane is to always put them as a team. They probably would have, if it was my card, they probably would have squashed Ziggler and Swagger.
Sheamus definitely a heel against Undertaker. We talked about that.
I think this one could be a standard match, and then you run it back with caskets.
Bryan and Angle. I think Angle heel.
Heel.
I mean, I like Daniel Bryan as a heel, but to me, he's the underdog in that match, and that's something to track.
And imagine the promos with just like the "I don't suck," yes, just like
the Batista, Orton, Triple H. Triple H has got to be a heel.
I'm booking that, Triple H is the heel, Batista's the babyface, and Randy's in the middle.
I think Randy and Triple H are both heels, and Batista's babyface.
That also works.
It's kind of how I'm thinking. Maybe like Orton's kind of in that like you kind of want to cheer for him a little bit, at least when he's up against Triple H. He is, he's still Randy Orton, but okay. Next step we got to do here, we got to figure out match placement. We got to figure out winners. So we usually, all three of us tend to think you start off with a solid match that's not one of the true main events. So to me, there's a good chance that we could start off with like Punk and Michaels, maybe.
No,
I'd say that's later on. I think you'd go with actually maybe the triple threat TLC.
Yeah, match. I'm thinking the ladder match.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, if you're going to make
it a TLC match for the ladder match.
Not opposed to that.
And then you come down a little bit with the Ziggler Booker T match. You follow that up with
something
the
solid.
Big Man Buffet. I'd say you follow it up with the Big Man Buffet.
No, I'd probably go.
See, I'm thinking Big Man Buffet is kind of one of those, not really like quite a bathroom break, but it's a little bit of like a filler type thing. And you just had this multi-man thing going on. I'd separate it from that a little bit.
I'd go Goldberg Cena probably next.
Yeah, if we're gonna go with something solid, then go with Goldberg Cena.
I think that could work. Yeah.
Then
I'm going flag match.
I go Big Man Buffet first. I think flag match is the one you do just before like your semi-main and main event, probably.
I think so too. You kind of, that's full on bathroom break. Yeah. This is like you made sure that you stuck around for Goldberg and Cena. If you don't want to watch the Big Man Buffet, although the downside to the Big Man Buffet being here is you just watch the Goldberg thing with these trying to pick him up. So maybe you don't do two big guy type matches in a row.
Ryback wasn't in this. I'm gonna say you follow that up with Shawn Michaels and CM Punk. complete antithesis of what you just saw. They're going to kill it.
I think it's fine having the Goldberg Cena and then that match following it up. I don't think it's a different type of big man match, I think.
Maybe do, because you got to separate Punk and Michaels from Bryan and Angle, I think. Yeah. So maybe you do Sheamus Undertaker.
I think you do Sheamus Undertaker, then you do the flag match.
Then the flag match, and then these two matches.
And then exactly as you have it right there.
Let me move this to the center of the screen, make that a little bit more presentable that way for everybody. Then we got to talk about winners. All right, so
I am definitive Edge and Christian needs to win. They retain the titles.
I'm not opposed to that. They are the more established team and everything.
That would be a great match. I wish I could watch it.
TLC match. And let's see what that does not do what I thought it was going to do. Well, we are going to continue that. It's not at all what I was going to do. All right.
I'm usually the one who has these kinds of troubles.
I like this full color. Let's go with this full color again. All right. So then we got the singles match here with Ziggler and Booker. We had some heels win. So could go babyface.
Ziggler is going to go over, and in my head, this is the IC title. And Ziggler wins it from a heel Booker T.
You're putting this as the Intercontinental title match?
Yeah.
What do you think, Callum? That or Bryan and Angle?
I think those two are too big for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
So maybe Ziggler Booker makes more sense.
That's why I did it.
Sold me on that. Goldberg, Cena. I think you go Cena.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, I ain't gonna argue it. Cena would probably be more to argue it than we would.
Yeah, I mean, he might be like, yeah, I could lose to Goldberg. It's Goldberg, but I like the idea of Goldberg taking a legitimate loss from a guy picking him up and giving him an FU or attitude adjustment.
Big Man Buffet. I kind of think Big Show has to win.
I like it.
Without a definitive plan of like, why do we put Mark Henry over here? Put Big Show over.
Yeah, I'd say next match CM Punk has to win.
Yep, I was gonna say that's a match for sure that you would think Shawn should end up getting the better thing, but Shawn is very good at being in that position where he still ends up losing, and Punk.
I would definitively say there has to be a moment though where Shawn has him beat, super kick, referee's down.
Yep.
Shawn goes to revive the referee, low blow,
go
to sleep.
Exactly. Even potentially he hits to go to sleep, but then he locks him in the Anaconda Vice.
Yeah, and Shawn's passed out from the go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. And, he got a low blow and the go to sleep and whatever, yeah. And you just had 3 baby faces win in a row. So you go with Punk doing that. People are like, boo, fuck you,
and
whatever.
Plus, your baby faces are going to win.
You're definitely going to have Undertaker beat Sheamus.
In what will be, I would think, a really fun match.
What kind of gimmick should we give that? Oh, we do have 2 gimmick matches in a row, if that's the case. Yeah, but I do think a brawl.
I'm going straight match, and then you come back with the gimmicks.
It could work.
Like, I would have Taker
with a singles match.
Like, in my mind, this is WrestleMania. It's always WrestleMania. But, like,
I mean, the difference would be because the flag match it's an in-ring match, so you could make it some kind of, like
a casket thing where you have to be outside in the casket, or a boiler room brawl, or buried alive.
Boiler room brawl, or
if we had to put a gimmick on it for like one of his gimmicks, I'm probably going buried alive because I think the gimmick of the casket is too limiting. Whereas there's at least a brawl involved with Buried Alive.
We could do Hell in a Cell.
I thought about it.
Because there's nothing that says that the TLC match, I mean, you can have the Hell in a Cell hanging up over there. They just have ladders. Hell in a Cell, it's different from flag match, too.
Yeah. Let's say the flag match is just like, it's a gimmick, but it's not like you need to separate all the gimmicks out. It's like, it's not that big of a gimmick change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it would be a flag match in the sense of you have to get the flag, not that weird shit that they did before with Rusev, where it's like you have to walk up to the stage and then do some plant your flag. It was so dumb. I hated that crap.
Yeah.
So we're going Jack Swagger there.
Yep.
Singles match.
I'm going Bryan over Angle.
We could make this some sort of gimmick. We could do it like a 2 out of 3 falls.
I think
we don't need to, but we could.
Why, man?
I mean, it's nothing stopping us from doing it. It's not like we have a time constraint, really.
Yeah, we're acting like this is real.
Could be maybe even 30-minute.
There's 30 minutes in particular. And if Angle has to win, then Angle has to squeak it out.
I would have Angle win that one, to be honest, just because I think. I mean,
it gets another heel win too.
Yeah.
And Daniel Bryan is like that underdog, and Kurt Angle could do that kind of weird shit where he's like, he kind of squeaks by. Yeah.
I think it would be a fantastic match. This main event is interesting because Triple H and Randy Orton are both heels that can easily win main events. But I think in my world, the babyface should end WrestleMania on top. And I think Batista wins, but Batista pins Randy, and Hunter's mad because he didn't lose.
There's also the idea in mind, Kurt Angle beating Daniel Bryan, does that put him in the number 1 contender spot against the Batista?
And then I did pitch Kurt Angle versus Batista.
Does CM Punk get a number 1 contender shot against Batista, or does Undertaker get a number 1 contender shot against either of the heels or Batista, or does John Cena do that?
You have some kind of multi-man, and then pieces fall where they may because Michaels isn't done with Punk and he screws him out of it, and then you have like
Sheamus moves on to a feud with Goldberg or something, and
and look at us, we're cooking things that don't even matter.
You could do Kurt Angle being a person who's going to try to beat Ziggler for the Intercontinental title.
I almost think Kurt Angle would probably be the next in line, but you'd have to come up with an excuse as to why it's not Undertaker, or Hunter, or like something like that. But I think Kurt Angle winning and then going on to Batista would be a lot of fun.
Part of me goes, I just kind of see Triple H holding that belt, though. I would lean more towards Batista or Triple H rather than Orton at the very least.
I mean, Orton's taking the pin either way.
Yeah.
There's an easy solution for it. It's like Triple H goes in holding the title and Batista wins it.
Could do that.
That was my pitch, that it's Triple H. He gets mad because he didn't lose the title because Randy Orton.
Yeah, because we didn't establish who the champions are.
Triple H would be the champion in my mind here.
Triple H would definitely be the champion heading into here, at least. Ziggler and Booker.
Booker would be the champion.
Booker is champ. Have a title change.
And then ENC keep the belts.
Maybe, yeah. I was going to say maybe they go in as champions and they keep them so that way not all the belts are changing hands. For anybody who's wondering.
Look at how. God, it's so good when it makes sense.
What's that Seinfeld quote? So nice when it happens good or something.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be a hell of a card. Look at that.
There's one match on this card I would skip, and even then, it'd probably still be a fun little spectacle to give the fans a bit of a break.
Why would you skip Undertaker Sheamus?
I know.
No, I mean that flag match would be something for a bathroom break.
Exists. Yeah,
it exists. Let's be honest, it exists because these two won the championship. And if they weren't on there, like on the list to work with, we just wouldn't have that match on the card.
Right.
And it would just be, you would just eliminate this from the graphic and it would probably be the same stuff otherwise.
Be a stronger collection of world champions as well.
Yes.
That's true. But you can't go wrong with this type of card. I mean, I like the idea of Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio teaming up against these teams. I love that gives you everybody paired off in this way. You can get a little bit of Benoit with Hardy and Jericho with Edge, and it's
Jericho with Mysterio, and
mm-hmm.
I liked the way that we came here and just talked about it real quick and put together quite a banger card.
We got a big man buffet in there.
You got an Evolution triple threat, which I believe if you go back and check out my fantasy booking World Champions card, I was very big on Evolution.
That's what we're going to...
For those of you who are not visualizing, Cody just changed the name of a Big Man Buffet to a Fatal 4 Plates match.
I'm trying to give the Big Man Buffets extra names now.
Well, it would be a Battle Chicken Royale then, wouldn't it?
It's lost on me. A Battle Chicken Royale? What is the reference?
Oh, is that not a meal that you have over there? I didn't know if that was like some sort of like Burger King or McDonald's thing, like a Chicken Royale.
It might be. I don't know. It might not be my area. But the Big Man Buffet is something I keep trying to. Did I do a Big Man Buffet for the Starcade thing? No, I guess I didn't. I did out with the old and with the new and that kind of weird shit. That's right. And that's the brand split thing at all. You will get some kind of different variations of the Big Man Buffet here and there. This one being the Fatal 4 Plates.
There is something called a Chicken Royale at Burger King.
Nice. Maybe I'll try that at some point. Maybe I'll get 4 of them. I don't know. How big is it? We'll see. Wendy's is better. Screw McDonald's. We'll do that podcast again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we got a 30-minute Iron Man match. We got a Hell in a Cell match. We got the Battle Royal. We got an Intercontinental title match. That's just going to be, solid singles action like that, and Punk and Michaels, and a triple threat.
And we got Evolution and a triple threat. And I think, if we're being honest, they were probably, that unit was the most associated with that title. So that's pretty cool.
I like this a lot.
Very proud of this.
This might be our most solid, just like easiest and best overall Ultimate card that we've done.
I agree.
I don't see any flaws here whatsoever, outside of the fact that we had to put Del Rio on the card.
You have to book some people that we don't want to really be associated with.
I'd like to do more of these for sure. I don't know how much more range we have for those gimmicks, but I think there's something to it. So if you have any suggestions of different things like this you'd like to see us try to break down in the future, maybe do something with like the women's titles or something when we come around to the mock draft of the Evolution thing that we were thinking about doing in October. Maybe we have, I don't know, maybe we do something tag team related. We never really do anything mock draft or fantasy booking related specifically around tag teams. Probably because there's so many different people, but something to think about in the future too. And if we do like an NXT based thing or main roster thing with that, I know that in the fantasy league thing that we just did, just recorded, I mean, there was a suggestion about doing something where we take the 2010 roster and we've got WWE, TNA, and I forget the other one that somebody was saying, but like that we do like 3 separate things with those combo rosters or whatever. Oh, I think that the person was suggesting one person books as if they're WWE, one person books as if they were continuing WCW, and one person books as if they're TNA. Yeah, we can change up this whole fantasy booking thing in lots of different ways. Ultimate side of cards.
It's always a blast. I love these.
Yeah. Also, let us know if you like these ultimate combo card things better, or if you like it better when we do our 3 separate things. I tend to think that the ultimate things are more interesting because we've got the debates going on instead of just presenting a list. But, I mean, when we do the mock drafts, we do our fantasy booking of our own special cards, and we can play around with that concept too. So, yeah, tell us what you thought. What would you be most excited about for this card? Are you like, man, that Michaels and Punk match would be the thing that would sell me on this more than anything else? Or are you like, what are you talking about? Daniel Bryan would definitely be the heel and Kurt Angle would be the babyface, or, I think there's quite a bit to actually discuss on this. Who'd you root for? Who'd you like to see the most? Do you have any other suggestions of like, you went into this thinking, I always think of Edge holding that World Heavyweight Championship, and I would do Edge versus John Cena because that's the match, or whatever it might be. I don't know. Also, give me other ideas for Big Man Buffet names because we're certainly going to have more big man buffets down the line. And I'll have to start looking through menus or something. But yeah, that's main event for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed Backlash. I don't know if we're going to end up hating or loving that in any capacity.
Yeah. Who knows how the landscape is going to be changed by the time we actually get to this.
Yeah.
I guess you'll hear about it on the hot tags on Friday.
Yeah, that's we haven't even recorded this week's hot tags yet, so
I know.
Check back on that episode of the hot tags. Check out all the other things that are happening on smarkmmo.com. Of course, the website, not only just the YouTube channel, but the website side of things too. Also, check out fanboysanonymous.com for all the stuff over on the Blue brand for things like the movie reviews and things about comics and video games and television shows, whatever it might be like that. That's also where you can find the Blueprint project that I work on for Batman stuff and Power Rangers stuff and Superman and Star Wars and James Bond, Ninja Turtles, X-Men, Spider-Man, whatever it might be. I'm maybe even thinking about expanding that in some ways too, and maybe doing some other things that I hadn't really thought about doing before, like RoboCop, which is like, why would I necessarily focus on that? But I was like, I had an idea in my mind. So any kind of Blueprint stuff, if you have in mind, let me know about that too. But definitely be checking out the stuff I've already put up there before, like Absolute Power Rangers, A Mighty Morphin Epic, or The Batman, A Nighttime Story, 100 Records from the Wayne Foundation Archives. I don't know when Chapter 4 is going to be up on there quite yet. I still haven't written it as far as Wednesday, May 3rd is concerned, but I've got a lot of notes. Working on a lot of AI generated stuff, even though it tends to want to put swords through people's heads. I can't get around that in some ways. But check out all that stuff and also go to anthonymango.com or amangotree.com and see all the different links that I've got there, including my personal accounts at Tony Mango. And make sure you are following not just what I have going on, but also what Rob and Callum have.
Yep, you can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. You can check out Fightful's great coverage on Backlash and get excited for the upcoming AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view and WWE Night of Champions, which we're going to be building towards. Check out my work on WrestleZone as well. Check me out on all my personal links at Dude Felice. They will eventually be much more organized under a nice little tree. But for now, that's all for me, and check out what Callum has.
You can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. There is the panel rankings over on smarkmmo.com, my weekly contributions, so make sure you're checking those out every single Saturday. And by the time you're listening to this, the Fantasy League has started. It hasn't quite started.
I'm winning.
I'm sure that's the case, but one of us is winning. We just don't know who. But make sure you're following that over at smarkmmo.com, or you can head straight to it at wwefantasyleague.com.
All right, everybody. I don't know what our next main event is going to be 2 weeks from now, but I don't know. I mean, maybe we have some notes. Let me double check that real quick. See if there's any kind of notes that we had in mind, or if there's a pay-per-view that I'm forgetting about. Let's see. We had possibilities of wrestlers in the wrong era. We were going to potentially do fantasy booking the Ultimate King of the Ring card based off of the people that did that. So if you are really kind of on this train of like, man, these Ultimate cards are really fun, and if you want us to book the Ultimate King of the Ring tournament based off of only people who have been in the King of the Ring tournaments before, that could be fun. That might even be a dark cast. I don't know. Maybe we might have to talk about that in the future. Or maybe I just do one on my own if I end up deciding to do that. But eventually we're going to get into that pay-per-view week of Night of Champions, Double or Nothing, and Battleground. That's going to be busy as all hell. Maybe we start another tournament. Maybe we do another Heat of the Moment tournament or something. I don't know. We'll see. You got to stay tuned. You got to make sure that you are subscribed. And then that way you know what you know when we know. You know?
No.
You know exactly where I was going with that. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.